everything you have. We are stronger together than we are apart.
So, Fant4stic.
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 I think you liked it more than I did. I think my thoughts have slightly settled over the past day. I don't think it's like the 0 out of 10 thing I originally pegged it to be. Still not good. Still not an endorsement by any stretch of the imagination. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That assessment is correct. I do think I liked it a little more than you did. My overall verdict is that it's a really difficult movie to give one verdict over, one solid opinion, because in my point of view, it starts out okay. It starts out pretty decently, and I think it sets the stage for a promising second half. I like that it was slow, I like that they were setting up characters, and you know, as far as the Fantastic Four source goes, they're not really superheroes, they're scientists and explorers. They get caught up in superheroics. And so the fact that a lot of the motivations at the start stem from discovery, passion, wanting to make the world a better place, that seemed mildly reverent and respectable and faithful to the source for me. So I at that point, I actually said to myself, I'm kind of enjoying this. I'm trusting the movie I'm trusting it, and I want to see where things are going. But there is a point where, this isn't a spoiler, they obviously go and get powers. The second they get powers, the movie just takes a gigantic nosedive, and the whole thing becomes everything we feared it would. And, you know, I walked out of the cinema, and I think there was a hint of denial and a hint of just, what did I just watch? Because, first of all, it was difficult getting out a gut reaction. But second of all, I didn't want this to be bad, and I really hated that there were people going around saying, oh, I hope the movie bombs so that they could go back to Marvel. Because for all they know, they could be...
Don't do that.
Yeah, for all you guys know, you could be bashing a perfectly solid film before you've even seen it. That's unfair to do. And I hope this doesn't prove those bastards right, because that's not why Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four flops for various reasons. I think the main ones are, and I'm just going to go into it, I think the main ones are that Josh Trank and the studio are on two completely different wavelengths. The film has clearly been edited to death. There were clearly so many scenes left on the cutting room floor, lots of trailer stuff just didn't wind up in it. I have a theory that, we heard a lot of trouble on set with Trank. I genuinely wonder if he fucked off for the second half and the studio finished the movie for him just to meet trailer deadlines. Because, it just suddenly becomes every superhero cliche in the book. Doctor Doom is the worst superhero villain I have seen on screen. I'm putting that out there right now.
Yeah, I think in our lifetime. Like, I had him as the worst villain since... Nuclear Man from Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. That was in 1987, so before either of us were born.
Nuclear Man is at least, fleshed out. At least he's in a lot of the movie. He's on screen for more than 10 minutes. And I even kind of dug this loner version of Doom before he becomes, generic bad guy. But, I mean, they have a hinted at backstory with Sue and him, which does nothing.
Were they even an item?
I don't know. They never tell us.
I don't know what. But see, when you say like it's the big nosedive for the third act, the reason for that is that they reintroduce the villain, what he can do, what the stakes are, how to stop him, them coming together and defeating him in the last 20 minutes.
It's so rushed.
It is a race to the finish, and
the pacing is damn awful. Because if you know that. I have a huge feeling that these scenes that were cut for time. The runtime feels way too short, but you could have dealt with that runtime by sorting out the pacing, and it really feels like a movie that was made as they went along. Because if they knew that they had that runtime, then they would have paced the whole thing differently. The whole beginning of the movie is stretched out for over an hour. It takes them fucking forever to travel to this other dimension and get their powers. But at the same time as that was the most enjoyable part of the movie because there was something there.
See, the thing with Fant4stic is that I think I appreciated what it was going for initially on paper, in that they wanted a much slower, more methodical, less action-packed version. And see, like you were saying, like people are hoping it would bomb and people hoping it would fail to go back to Marvel. Don't do that, because first of all, that's a terrible environment for directors to direct, writers to write, creators to create. You are stifling that creativity, and don't do that. But it's the fact that you were saying that for the first act, before they got their powers, you were kind of enjoying it and you were wondering where they were going. I was only wondering where they were going. I wasn't enjoying it. I was sort of holding out that hope. And there's so little action in this movie, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's the fact that Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, they are so one-dimensional and flat, and that's fine if they have all the action and all the world-building to compensate, but they have no world-building, there's no character arcs or characteristics, there's nothing to these people. They're so one-dimensional. Yeah. And so it's boring as hell, and it's so weird that it's 100 minutes long, and it does feel edited to death. There's so much in the trailer that's not in the movie. I was going through the trailers yesterday, and I was just astounded at how much got cut out and how much is not there.
The structure is virtually non-existent.
My first video about this Fantastic Four reboot, about the very first teaser trailer, which I liked, but I was a bit hesitant because it's like, okay, what is this movie about? What is it thematically?
The teaser trailer looks like a masterpiece compared to the finished film.
You are correct, and my initial fears were perfectly justified now having seen the movie. There's no theme to this movie. There's nothing.
There's no story.
There's no story. There's no underlying narrative through
line. Learning to work as a team plays more like a footnote right at the end.
It's not even a footnote. The very first time, there are two scenes. There's one scene before the climax of the movie where Ben Grimm and Sue Storm share a scene together, and that's at the science fair at the beginning of the film. And 90 minutes later, they are teaming up to beat Doctor Doom. That's not how you do a team dynamic. And I'm thinking, should we just not bother with instead stop tiptoeing around spoilers, because there's nothing really to spoil in this movie.
Guys.
There's no twists.
Guys. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie. This is what happens. The Fantastic Four spend an hour building up their powers, then they get their powers, and this is where people. So spoiler warning. We'll put it out now. Spoiler warning. Okay, goodbye. Love
but there's
you.
not much to spoil, so you can still stick around.
So the second they get back, and it's really annoying because there are seeds of good stuff here. I really think that Miles Teller gets Reed Richards far more than the script should logically allow him to. The first sequence where he wakes up after... I thought the whole... they were going for a kind of sci-fi horror thing. I really dug that.
I really liked that sequence, but... but it didn't earn it from what preceded it and what followed it. It was its own mini-movie in this big movie.
Absolutely true, but I mean, the scenes where they get their powers and everything's gone to shit and they fucked up completely, I really liked that, and I actually found myself caring quite a bit. And I loved the scene where Reed wakes up after that, and his arms are comically stretched out. And the very first thing he's doing is asking about his friends, and that is exactly what Reed Richards would do. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm actually really getting into this. And then he escapes and decides he's gonna try and fix things or something.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
That 1 year later cut.
Yeah, there's a time skip.
Kills the movie.
The time skip ruins everything.
And it's not even it's a time skip that is only there so that the movie doesn't even have to bother filling in the gaps. And Reed Richards, what was he doing for that year? What was he doing?
Driving around a cornfield?
Driving around with a terrible CGI'd face.
Oh god, that was really poor.
Very poor.
In fact, sidetrack, the effects here look as if they belong in the early days of CGI. Not good at all.
They're probably on par with the 2005 Fantastic Four.
I think the Human Torch in 2005 looks 1,000 times better than the one they've got here. He looks so overly cartoonish.
To be fair, fire is a difficult effect to get. But 2005 one did look better. I liked the motion captured Jamie Bell as the Thing, and he gave a great performance, being able to have this initially, like, before he transforms, this smaller body, but with an underlying intensity and a warmth to him.
Jamie Bell gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah, because he really does disappear from the movie for like 40 minutes. I didn't even know he'd left the facility until he gets text.
I was watching the movie wondering, when the fuck are they going to try and shoehorn Ben Grimm into this? Because he's not part of the science crew. And the way they ultimately do it, and I do kind of like that they say, oh, they get drunk and they decide to go off themselves, because the very idea that, you know, the original Fantastic Four, it's kind of hard to believe that these people, not all of whom are scientists, are astronauts up in space. So I kind of like there was an attempt to do something more realistic there. But, I mean, first of all, it gets them out of a really, I think, harsh and completely misplaced jab at astronauts.
Yeah.
Which is stupid, and I don't want to go too much into it, but I'll say it here because I'm not going to put it in my review. It's just a nitpick, but...
Yeah, Film Brits exclusive.
The way they go about this is that they finally make the teleportation device, and then the big government officials say, right, NASA's going to take the reins now, thanks for your service. And they get pissed off because originally Franklin, Storm, Sue, and Johnny's dad promised them that they would be the ones that would go up and go into the other dimension. For some reason, I'm not too sure why he said they'll do it, but whatever. And then they start drinking, which is kind of funny, because who is it when he's like... I really think Miles Teller's funny in this, and I think he's got really good comedic timing. Like when they say, do you want a drink? And he says, oh, it kills brain cells. And then it just cuts to him having a drink. Like, you see, it really
that got
feels...
a laugh from my viewers, from my
So I do think there's something here, and... It really does feel like this is legitimate, and we're watching an actual movie, and then, but anyway, so the jab is that they start talking and they say, do you remember who built the Apollo 13 shuttle? And they say, it is Apollo 13, isn't it?
Apollo, I think. But I'll Google that while you talk.
Whatever, the shuttle that they went up with, whatever the shuttle that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went on when they first landed on the moon. Victor, and by the way, he's also called Victor Von Doom in this because they're going realistic.
Apollo 11.
Apollo 11, okay. I was 2 away. Apollo 13 is the Tom Hanks one.
Yes.
So they talk about how, do you know who built the shuttle? Of the rocket ship, and they say no, and they say, well, do you know who first stepped on the moon? They said, of course, Neil Armstrong, blah blah blah. And he says, see, we're going to be those guys in bars talking about how our dreams were taken away from us because someone else stepped in. But the problem is astronauts are paid to be astronauts. Rocket ship people are paid to be rocket ship people. If you want to be an astronaut, you go and be an astronaut.
The very first alarm bell for this movie, the very first one, was in the second scene where we cut to young Ben Grimm at home. And his brother insults him, he calls him an idiot under his breath, and then his older brother chases him through the house, and he says it's clobbering time as he goes to like beat up his younger brother. And I thought, okay, so you've got that bit of fan service in.
I didn't even catch that.
And it's tied to the abuse that Ben Grimm used to have from his family as a child. That was my very first alarm bell for this movie. And I thought, okay, you've got to turn this around. You've got to maybe, like... Because there are some people who turn the insults against that are thrown against them into an armor or into a weapon or something.
Yeah.
And I thought that would maybe define him using the catchphrase later on, but then it just comes out of nowhere, and he says it's clobbering time before attacking Dr. Doom.
He does actually say that. That's interesting because
he does. Yeah, he said. Yeah, and his older brother.
See, the action is so unremarkable that I couldn't even remember if the thing said it's clobbering time or not.
He does say that, and it's just sort of, that really sort of really got that got to me in a sense. It was there because they needed a realistic reason for him to have that as a catchphrase, but it was tied to some really dark subject matter when it really didn't need to be. And it's clobbering time. This movie, it just punches you in the face with how much it sucks.
Trilbee.